How are we doing? That good, huh?
Yeah. I'm just getting ready. What's
Okay.
happening?
Well, I am officially. I'm going to trade. I'm going to trade YM and RTY today. I decided that watching a product that's not performing is pointless to my existence. And
All right.
it's not because RTY, basically trended yesterday. It was actually because it was at 100 RVol, and YM was at 75 or less the whole day. and I just
Right.
find that to be asinine. It's just freaking asinine. So anyway, um, let's start. So I'm gonna try and do two today. A couple things that I see is just quickly. YM is out of its price channel to the downside, but we're bouncing off of the all-time high, and that buyers yesterday didn't really show any aggression here, which is kind of surprising. We did gap up. We eventually filled that gap, despite my best efforts to get a part of that move. I kept getting stopped out. Anyway, it does fill
To the downside, your
to the
short side, you mean?
yeah, to the downside. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, not to criticize myself, I didn't read what the chart was telling me. I saw the balance breakdown at the high, and I didn't take it because I thought bulls, and brain went into some form of non-performance. And then I proceeded to get stopped out all the way down, trying to get the move that was happening. Not for the reasons that it sounds like, but anyways. So I don't know what this move was yesterday. Maybe you can explain it when you do ES. But we're out of price channel. We bounced outside of it. We broke down, but we didn't break down to any place meaningful other than the lower auction. So the only thing that's important to me is that if we break back higher into this higher auction, I think it's only worth looking for real quality longs. If we balance, there's low RVol and nobody's interested, then I'm gonna wait till we get to an extreme, and then I'll look to fade that extreme. But otherwise, I'm not gonna mess with this. I'm not gonna study this. I got a lot other better, more important things to do, like organizing my sock drawer. But we are imbalanced to the downside, so that poses a little bit of a dilemma. I kind of want to see how we re-auction this low before I make a plan. But the general plan would be, my expectation would be, bulls do come in, we impulse into value, pull back somehow, or we balance and then break higher across value. And then I don't know, could go into balance. With RTY, we're in a little bit of a different situation. I've got two key inflection points. We've got a location of resistance in the overnight that was retested and then we broke from. So pretty balanced, both outside of their bullish channel, but a new one could be forming. Not sure. Delta readings aren't that easy on RTY, but we're in balance right now. So I'm going to expect that RTY will do what it normally does, which is test down, rip higher, or it'll bounce around, come all the way down to the point of no return, and then return. So what I'll be looking for here is essentially an EMA move to the downside if we break the overnight low down into this point of control, down into this area right here where we last took off.
Mm-hmm.
As far as even here, I would say. But then I would be looking for a fade back across, and looking for buyers to step up. If we do go up first, um, I've just got to be in balance to the long side, and then I'll look long. I'm going to be a little bit cautious about trading the all-time high as far as that goes, but those are the plays that I see today.
It's a lot of air underneath 2 days ago's low, though. Like, okay, so, well, I guess it's yesterday's low. But you were pointing out an area around 2265
Yeah,
as an area that you might be a buyer. And, it just depends on how it gets there.
100%.
But if it starts, if it slams down there on first test, it's probably great. But if it starts to balance and then break lower and then balance and break lower and balance and break lower, below that area, you got a lot of air in your
Yeah.
composite chart there.
Yes. So Ziggy, I'll be leaning on you to tell me what's going on in R2Y.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Here's confidence for you.
Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Well, matching the ideas and, it's one thing to kind of look at RTY for me on most mornings and after the day's done and kind of assess what's happening in the auction, but, trading it and actually executing those ideas, monetizing them is obviously a little bit trickier, right?
yeah.
Yes, that is the hardest part.
Yeah, because I think with RTY, it's like I'm not gonna say sometimes it's like predictable, but certain times when you have certain things line up, especially to do with the opening location, certain things become a little easier to maybe navigate and pinpoint. But trading it is still difficult.
Mm.
Like anything else, though, I'm not saying it's harder or easier. I'm just saying trading is not easy.
I
So.
think it is a little harder just in that it challenges your main notions about structure and where I mean, it looks like the world is coming to an end and then it just turns around.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, I just wanted to point out now we're in the fifth day up of green candles into all-time new high territory in the ES. We got a gap. We got a naked VPOC, a naked open gap, naked VPOC, open gap, naked VPOC, open gap. And, in the overnight session, we're just kind of like right there. We're just doing this, basically, like a little one of those. And so this is extended by anybody's imagination, but I'm not certain that we're going to get a flush. I'm just pointing out that this is getting old for this market without a balance. I would expect some sort of a balance coming up here pretty soon. So just keeping that part in mind. And then the second thing I guess I was going to show is, oh crap, I lost my chart. Not that one. Behind this thing. So there we go. Okay. So it's just the intermediate look of things the way I have it. This was yesterday's breakout at the end of the day, pushed into about 13, developed a balance, very balanced overnight profile, basically trickled down. Started to get some decent delta on the downside here, and now is holding this level right around the point of control of yesterday, the point of control of the overnight session, and breaking below this area is going to show some short-term weakness. I have my initial support zone down in here. I'm expecting that this will probably at least break. So I'm looking for this scenario. Like my number one scenario would be something like this, where we pull back in here in the first hour or so, we break this, we regain it again, we come back, and then we push up, and we try to get up into this area. So first line of support would be trying to get long this area if we have this higher low go into place and kind of hold this level for a pushback either into the mid, into this point of control, potentially into this resistance area. And judging the strength of this move would be the first kind of key inflection point for me, because if we test up like this, now, this would be like almost scenario 2 is if we get an impulse from this range that takes out this low, all of a sudden the picture is going to be changing and we're going to be shooting for this area down here. And we've developed a pretty solid point of control at the 80 level, up in the stratosphere zone. That's also a naked point of control. That's pretty big target. So I think that that's a possibility as well. So first scenario is that pullback to the pre-market and sort of a push back into the mids and the VWAPs and see what happens. That So that's scenario kind of number one. My secondary scenario is that if we just open and we flush this zone, so almost like an open drive, but just a flush, that kind of takes this out without me getting aboard anything or getting long or doing anything. I'm going to be looking to see how it trades here, because the next most likely scenario is if it flushes straight down into this support area, it either stops here or it stops at this, and we get one of these boop, big moves higher. So I'm expecting like this area, if it's flushed into really fast, I'm expecting this to be a support zone that probably has a good reaction on first test. Now, that would look different if we did something like where we opened and did this, and then started to go like this, and drifting down, and then push through here, balance like this, and then start to attack. You know, this is totally different than what I was saying before in the pink color, which is a flush that just takes this out and pushes down and then bounces. So depending on how this all develops, I'm going to be looking for those things. On the downside, the only upside scenarios that I have are really the kind of all the ones we've been working with the last, you know, this grind up is basically you get some sort of maybe a pullback first and a push up, break these mids, you balance in here, you fake out, maybe it doesn't go that low, maybe it only goes out to down to about there, and then you push up, and then you kind of chop, and then you fake out, and then you push up a little more, and then we would just have a normal kind of day that goes up like this. Based on the range, you know, this is a normal range area where we could expect some sort of reaction to those areas. This would be a much calmer, lower volatility type of day where you get these minor choppy pullbacks and then one big giant scary one with a big low tick, and that's where you have to get aboard if you're going to get aboard, and just kind of get this grind higher. I did want to show you though that yesterday, that move higher out of yesterday's that you talked about, Josh.
Yep.
We were saying, you know, hey, you know, maybe you can explain what happened there. I was watching this pretty closely, and so this was the balance before the breakout. And if you look at this, we pulled into the mid area, right? And we start to resist. We pull up again. Now we're getting negative delta on an up bar. Now we're getting solid negative delta again. We're going to get a push up and negative delta again. So I was actually short this going in. And what I was doing is just kind of positioning myself so that I like shorted up here and I covered a little there and I shorted again there and I covered a little there. And I kind of hoping that it would break lower and, you know, break down and kind of go this way. But when I was seeing this, and the market was just pushing down and couldn't stay down, pushing down with big, big volume. I made a comment in the trade room actually, which was, and it started really right here. This push breaking through the mid was followed by the worst delta reading we had. So there was massive, massive, heavy selling into this push higher, and it just would not go down. It just did not go down. And it's so much of an anomaly to me that I'm going to make an indication on a chart. I'll show you what I'm thinking about is I'm going to put it on my daily look, which just shows when price and delta are moving together, when price and delta are not moving together. Because when they're not moving together like this, what's actually happening is there's a heavy, heavy seller in this thing that's not getting his way. He's getting pushed back again. And even on this bar, he pushes up to, we're delta positive for 3,000. It retraces back to 1,500. And then finally, look at that. You were at 4,300, and before that bar closed, you were negative.
Wow.
Right? And this was the end of the day. All the way up, there was a heavy presence of selling all the way up. What that means long term, I don't know, but in the short term, that position, or part of that position, or the people that were with that position, or the people that saw that delta and thought it was going down, they all got squeezed.
Yeah, that well, and not on that move, but
That's
that whole move up, I kept getting squeezed on, and it was kind of a short risk. I mean, 20 ticks for the most part. And I just couldn't get a rotation back down. Gets to the
well, this was
200
later in the day.
and then just drops. Well, I'm
This
just
was
saying
later in the day.
the behavior was there the whole day, or at least on
Yeah.
the downside, which is why I was hesitant to even short in the first place. But you know, it just keeps going down. I don't know what to do.
You know,
I
Nick,
know yesterday was like Delta was very negative, even though yesterday was a very positive price day, I thought. So,
yeah, yesterday was heavier to the upside for RTY as well, and there were about somewhere around four kind of bigger, more main identifiable pullbacks. And on two of those pullbacks, at the kind of bottom leg of that pullback, you had a divergence in the delta. So there was the um, price was going down, but then you had positive delta into that last leg of the down move on two of the pullbacks right into the lows. You could see it printed the divergence color. I have it so it prints a different color when that's happening, and right at the bottom of the pullback you see the other color print to let me know that there's that divergence.
really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was gonna post a screenshot yesterday because there was like, right as the bottom of the leg is coming in, you see the aggressive lifting coming in. But if you're just looking at a candlestick alone, you're not gonna see that happening.
Mhm.
So, but I could see it in the delta on the bottom of that leg. It was heavy lifting ahead of right before the pullback kind of reversed and kept going. So it just it's very simple. It's just looking at the swing, what's the delta of the swing, and then you can see that as the swing's approaching it's what becomes the bottom of it, you had a divergence in delta significant.
I'll throw up a screenshot of that. I'd like to see it because I'm adding some things to my chart as well for that exact reason. Because like this is yesterday in a half an hour view, just the RTH session on a volume scope chart, and I start to look at this because it's really interesting to me to see this in a different kind of format. But this was the bar. This was the bar that kind of said like, okay, let's throw everything we can at this thing to the downside, right? This is when they pushed as hard as they possibly could. This was the let's go get the low a day. Let's take out that low a day. Let's break to the downside, and it just didn't go. It just would not go. And when it didn't go, you got this inside bar in the half an hour period, and then it just broke to the upside. And that was the end of the day. So, and this is a really clear, nice, big picture view of what happened yesterday. And it was pretty amazing. Maybe I've never paid this much attention to Delta, or maybe this is different. I can't tell.
Hmm.
By the way, guys, when you pull up your Delta, my Delta will only go back 120 days. That's as much tick data as I can get. Do you guys get more than that?
You used to, they used to get all-time tick data, but they've just recently limited that. I only read the note a couple of days ago, so I don't know what the limitations are. You can get it if you pay more, but I think with their standard subscription, you're only going to get 2 years of tick data. I
2
think
years.
that's what it said.
I would just wanted to compare this to other times to see if it's unusual or this is normal.
Yeah.
That's all. And if I only go back 120 days, it's a pretty limited window. So.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, good luck today.
Yeah, you too.
We'll see you.
Bye.